Good evening. Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration Fair for all Indiana students. Tonight's session is Southern Hospitality. We have some amazing presenters. A few things we want to cover before we get started. For our students or counselors or parents who are watching, you can ask questions throughout the session, and the way that you do that is using the Q&A button and near the bottom of your screen. Your camera and your microphone are turned off, so you are muted and the panelists cannot see or hear you. We want to remind you that there are 3 weeks of these sessions happening, sponsored by InACAC, and if you want to sign up for more sessions, you can go to inacac.org/virtual college fair. Just so you know, there's a lot of cool sessions that you can't get to them all at the same time, so they all will be recorded and available for you at a later date. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our panelists.
All right. Well, thank you, Melinda, and good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan Barwell. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admissions at the University of Louisville. We are delighted that you are here with us tonight. And as I am talking, I'm going to pull up my screen here, share my screen here, so we can go through our PowerPoint presentation with you. So hopefully you all are able to see that and we're going to go rock and roll with this. But again, we are delighted to chat with you tonight. We're glad that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to join us. Joining me tonight are two of my favorite good friends, Ms. Jennifer Potts from the University of Alabama and Ms. Lindsay Shooks from the University of Kentucky. Tonight we have a jam-packed evening for you that will hopefully be informative, but also very fun. And so we first will be giving you just a brief overview, introduction to us, our schools, and what we have to offer. But then we're going to discuss 5 things for you to consider when going out of state, and then the top 5 reasons to go out of state, and then also leave some time for you to ask us any Q&As. So without any further ado, I'm going to get us started here and turn it over to Ms. Jennifer to kick us off and tell us a little bit more about the University of Alabama. So Jennifer.
Hey everyone, it's so nice to be with you tonight. Thanks for joining us this evening. As Ryan said, my name is Jennifer Potts and I am a regional recruiter with the University of Alabama. So what that means is I actually live in the area. In my case, I live in Fishers, Indiana, and I am responsible for recruiting Indiana students to the University of Alabama, and I have been doing this for 7 years. Now I'm going to go through this information pretty quick, but know that I'm here for you. Like, my job is really just to help you figure out if Alabama is a good fit for you. So you'll see my contact information at the end, but know that you can contact me to set up an individual meeting. Also, I'll be doing a session for InACAC next week on Wednesday the 14th if you want to learn just about the University of Alabama. But speaking of, here's some pictures. So the University of Alabama, to me, is what college should look like. It's the brick and the pillars and the green space, and you'll see from our map that we're a little bit further south, which gives us a little bit warmer winter weather. So that allows you a little bit more of the year to enjoy that beautiful green space. But some bits about us, we're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is a college town of about 100,000. We're about an hour away from our biggest city in Alabama, which is Birmingham, and our population is on the screen. Something to point out that 59% of our students come from out of state, including 277 students on campus from Indiana. The next slide will give you some highlights here. Well, actually, it'll tell you our majors. And we have over 200 areas of study on campus, but they all have a couple things in common. So here you can get a good sampling. They all have a couple things in common. We are a major research institution. So research is ingrained in all the areas of study. But we were also proud to be ranked 2nd in the country for internship placement last year. So that is a big part of our education, is getting you hands-on experience. They'll give you opportunities to study abroad, which I personally love. And if you're looking at this list and you're like, I don't know what to do, don't panic. We want you to have a major nailed down by the end of your sophomore year at Alabama. The next slide will give you an example of what campus life is like. So we have a very vibrant campus life with over 600 clubs and organizations. So really, you name it, we have those options. Ryan, if you could forward so I can show some cool pictures here, including my favorites, which are food. So we have great options for food on campus, as well as we have rec centers, 2 of them actually, that are super fancy. Oops, might have missed a couple. That's okay. So lots going on campus. We also have the largest Greek system in the country. So if you're interested in being in a fraternity or sorority, then Alabama is a great place for you. However, it's only 1/3 of our students. So 2/3 of our students are involved in other ways on campus. Thanks for getting that screen there. One other thing to point out there is we logged over 1 million hours of community service. So we're really proud of that. The next slide, what you got a sneak peek of, is about our housing. So we have really fancy housing options on campus. 50% of our housing are suite style. So if you look at the picture on the top right, this girl is Hope, and she is from Plainfield, Indiana. She sent me this picture when she moved in this semester, and that's 50% of our housing is like what she's living in. So she actually doesn't share her bedroom. She just shares her bathroom with one other student. There are 4 bedroom, 2 bathroom units, each with a little kitchen and a living room. A concern I get from Indiana students is, are they air conditioned? And yes, they are all air conditioned. I'm not gonna have a ton of time today to talk about scholarships, but I just wanna show you the next slide so that you can see that we do have scholarship opportunities on campus. We recently went test optional, so we have scholarships with or without a test score. So let's chat about those at a future date or join that session next week. And lastly, I wanna point out just opportunities to visit campus. So we have resumed in-person opportunities. We also have virtual opportunities. So while we're in this kind of crazy virtual space, we'd love for you to check out Alabama at home. And then I've reached out to a girl on campus. This is just an example of an Indiana student. Her name is Sydney Green, and we can pull up her picture. There she is. She's the one on the left. And this is what she wanted me to share, just about her experience being an out-of-state student. So she said, high school for me was amazing. I had a great group of friends and I didn't want to leave them, but I knew the best choice for me was to go out of state to college to meet new people. Not only would I meet new people, but I would grow as a person more going further away than staying closer to home. It wasn't easy, but it was the best decision I could have ever made. The University of Alabama does an amazing job getting freshmen involved to meet new people, whether it's through clubs, sports, Greek organizations, or intramurals. At Alabama, you can find students from all over the country in your exact same shoes, looking to make new friends and enjoy their 4 years at UA just like you. Leaving Indiana, I realized how much more there is to life, and Alabama is giving me these opportunities to go and explore it. I have found a home at UA, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to my friend Lindsay Shokes from UK.
Thank you, Jennifer. So as she mentioned, my name is Lindsay Shokes, and I am lucky enough to be the admissions counselor at UK, who works with all of our students from the state of Indiana. So I'm excited to share a brief overview with you about the University of Kentucky, and then I'll actually second what Jennifer shares, and we'll also, I'll also be hosting a University of Kentucky session next Wednesday. It's the same night as Jennifer, so you can attend hers and then stay on and join mine after at 8 p.m. So we would love to see you there or connect with us. So when you think of the University of Kentucky, we are a large public research institution located in Lexington, Kentucky. We'll talk a little bit more about Lexington here in a moment, but what does it mean for you to be a large public research institution? So starting off, we have a little over 31,000 students on our campus. So we have students from all 50 states, over 100 countries around the world, and we'll talk a little bit more about our specific Hoosiers that call the University of Kentucky home. We offer over 200 academic majors. So similar to what Jennifer talked about, you have so many opportunities, so many ways to pick and choose your major and find a good fit for you. If you're like me, picking a major can seem overwhelming. It's hard to find that right one. So knowing that a lot of our academic colleges have an exploratory option so that you have that opportunity to get to know all the different areas on campus or all the different majors before you pick. So a little over 200 academic majors, over 600 clubs and organizations, and we'll all talk a little bit more about the importance of those organizations throughout this evening. But something we've tried really hard to do as we've grown and as we've brought more great students to campus is work to make sure that you don't feel as though you're just a number or just a face in the crowd. So seeing some of those statistics up there, knowing that 85% of our classes will have less than 50 students. So you have so many ways to take the University of Kentucky and find your home away from home, find your community within that institution. Again, we're home in Lexington. That's a large public research institution, part of it. And I will admit right here that I am totally biased, but Lexington is a really neat part of the University of Kentucky. So we are the second biggest city in the state of Kentucky. So you'll hear about the first biggest here in just a few minutes. But having so many opportunities, so many cool things for students to get involved in within the city of Lexington as well. One thing while we're talking a little bit still about that academic side of things, so we are proud to be one of a small number, one of 8 institutions in the nation that has such a variety all on one contiguous campus. So we have colleges of agriculture, engineering, medicine, the full complement of liberal arts, all located at the University of Kentucky. So what does that mean for you? The nice thing there is that opens you up to collaboration across all of those programs, the opportunity to advance your learning and your degree by seeking out those opportunities. So a lot of benefits there for our Indiana students. So you probably know, Kentucky is just not that far away from you. So from Indiana to the Bluegrass. So we currently have around 500 students on campus from Indiana. And that you Indiana students join about 34% of our total students who are from out of state. I like to think we are in that perfect location for you all. So for anyone listening in from Indianapolis or even from Evansville, we're just over 3 hours away from our students who are in like farther north in Fort Wayne or South Bend. We're just over 5 hours away. So very accessible. The city of Lexington is accessible in general. So we are within a day's drive to over 70% of the country. So there's so many cool places to explore and to get to know while you are living on campus. And then to hear from one of our current students, so some of you might recognize Imani. She is a junior at UK, and currently she's studying communication sciences and disorders within our College of Health Sciences. So a competitive program, a great program, wanting to go into healthcare. And you can see in her quote that that healthcare aspect is some of what attracted her to the University of Kentucky, to have that hands-on learning and have the Trauma One hospital right there and different clinics. So a lot of opportunities there. And as I mentioned, so my name is Lindsay, and I'm so fortunate to get to be your admissions counselor. So here is my contact information. Similar to what Jennifer shared, we are open for campus tours and would love to show you around campus, show you around Lexington when you are comfortable. But we'll also do a ton of virtual visits and engagements as well. So grab that information, schedule a meeting with me, and I look forward to working with you. And now I will we're going to go just right down 64 to Louisville to hear about the University of Louisville.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hi, everyone. My name is and Senior Director of Admissions at the University of Louisville. A lot of highlight some of the important parts of the university. First and foremost, a lot of people think the University of Louisville, one of the biggest myths about the University of Louisville is our size. Unlike the University of Alabama and unlike the University of Kentucky, we have about 12,000 undergraduate students. Our total enrollment is about 22,000. So for being a large public institution, just like those two, we are much smaller in size. And we're intentional about that. We want to be smaller in size. But we offer over 200 majors to choose from. Our 3 flagship programs are Speed School of Engineering, our College of Business, which has several great programs, anything from accounting to finance to marketing, to even one of our specialized programs in equine business. And then our nursing program. Being in the largest city in the Commonwealth, we own and operate 3 hospitals, and we graduate and accept the most nursing students out of any school in the Commonwealth. So we're really proud of that. We've been ranked as the best, most beautiful campus in the Commonwealth, but diversity and inclusion is a big part of our cardinal principles and our cardinal core. We are a Research One institution as well. So if you want to get your hands wet and get involved in research, we provide that opportunities as well. Last year was about $154 million dedicated to undergraduate research. We're actually one of 13 schools in the country, and probably one of the only ones in the Midwest, who are doing research right now on the coronavirus. So it's a really great experience that our students are getting. So we'll talk a little bit more about the University of Louisville. Just like my colleagues, I welcome the opportunity to meet with you virtually, one-on-one, or we are going to offer some tours coming up here as well that we can meet in person. So without further ado, I think there are, oh, I forgot to share my student experience with you. So this is my good friend, Sarah. Sarah came to the University of Louisville last year. She's the one in the teal colored coat there. And I just absolutely love her quote. And so I just wanted to read this for you real quick. For my college experience, I wasn't necessarily looking to go out of state, but knew I wanted to go to a school away from home. For her, home is close to Muncie, Indiana. And so she wanted to get a little bit further away from home. From the first time I visited Louisville, it felt like a busy city that would give me amazing opportunities, but it also a sense of belonging and felt like a home. Being an out-of-state student has also allowed me to not only learn about a new state, but it's also connected me to many others, out-of-state students that didn't know anyone in Louisville either. So I've been able to learn about life all around the United States from just crossing the Ohio River. So at the University of Louisville, we have roughly about 800 to 900 students each year who do attend the University of Louisville from the state of Indiana. Now, we are very fortunate, as Sarah alluded to, 2 miles north of us is the Ohio River, and that's southern Indiana as well. But only roughly about half, Indianapolis area, Evansville, to where I'm from, Gary, Indiana, South Bend, you name it. So we get a lot of students from the Indiana area. So we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some myths or some fears that you might have for out-of-state students. So I want to take a moment to shed some light on these and have my good friend Jennifer come back and talk to us about one of these myths that we have here. So Jen, if you could jump on here and tell us, what if you don't know anyone? What is it like being an out-of-state student at the University of Alabama or any of our institutions as an out-of-state student?
Yeah, so this is a legit fear I hear often, usually from seniors who are trying to make their decision. What if I don't know anyone? And I had the fortunate position to say, well, 59% of our students are from out of state, so really nobody knows anybody. And we branded this presentation with Southern Hospitality, and Southern Hospitality is a real thing. They're friendly. It's a welcoming place to go to school. But my best advice to you when you're looking at colleges, to look at those schools, and we'll talk more about this as we go on tonight, but it's okay to look at schools where you don't know anyone. It's a great time to meet people, and I think the best way to get to know people is, of course, to get involved. So get involved from day one, jump right in, and in no time, you got a friend.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. One of the other myths that we hear is, that it's maybe harder to get into an out-of-state school. I'm going to talk a little bit about getting in to various different universities. And the fact and reality is college and universities are becoming more and more difficult to get into, even in-state. As a former employee who worked for a public institution in the state of Indiana, I can tell you it's getting more and more difficult to get into these certain programs. They're becoming more and more selective. So that's why I think it's important for you to do your homework, do some research, and expand your options. As Lindsay mentioned earlier, all of us are very fortunate that we are within a short day drive of you. you have some phenomenal opportunities available to you. So take advantage of that, do that homework, do that research, and maybe expand your options. Another myth that a lot of out-of-state students think is that they can't afford to go to out-of-state. Affordability, in my opinion, should be one of the top 3 reasons you are considering a school. Sure, I would love to buy that brand new Tesla, but reality is my budget might just keep me in my Honda CR-V right now. So there are many reasons both in-state and out-of-state can make it very affordable for you. So if you're going to a school in-state or out-of-state, there's a lot of different ways that they can make it very affordable for you. Some schools have scholarships designated for out-of-state students. There might be some alumni scholarships, etc. But one of the things I want to stress to you is that college is an investment, but it is the best investment that you can make for yourself. A degree in something that a degree is something that nobody can take away from you. So, you know, take whatever it may cost, no matter where you go to school, whether it's in-state or out-of-state, just know that this is an investment. That's something that somebody cannot take away from you. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the myths is, you know, what if I get homesickness? The reality is there's no place like home. So Lindsay, maybe talk to us a little bit about what resources are available for our students and go from there.
So I'm going to actually jump on and answer that one. So I'm going to say you probably will get homesick. It's something that is not uncommon. I know I personally experienced homesickness my freshman year. And really my example, I went home for fall break my first year of college, and I cried like a baby on the couch to my mom because I was just overwhelmed. I had a great group of friends already, but I was really struggling in the balance of time management with my classes and time management with my homework compared to like social activities. So I have some advice for you in this situation. One, if there's any parents who are here listening tonight, my mom gave me great advice and she made me go back and face it and encouraged me to get involved and to fight through the homesickness. But I would like to stress that you, at any school in the country, if you go and you get homesick, know there's resources for you. There's mental health resources on all of our campuses. There's ways for you to balance the homesickness and try to get through that. So that's our goal for you, is we want you to be successful on our campuses, and we will provide you with those ways to be successful both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So do take advantage of all those mental health and other resources that we're going to provide you. Lindsay, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. And just to add to that, I think Jennifer makes such a good point about, yes, you can plan to get homesick, and just knowing that that is okay. You'll hear from pretty much anyone you talk to, try not to go home until fall break or until later, and that is all for a good reason. If you all will promise not to tell my family this, what I was most homesick for in college was the dog, was our puppy, because, you know, I can call my family members, I can call my friends, but you can't call the dog. And so, you know, one thing that I always loved is, you know, at UK, we have a group called the 4 Paws for Ability service dogs that are training service dogs. So you get to just sit on the floor and pet and love on these sweet little dogs that are running around. So whether, no matter what it is you're looking for, there are ways to fight through that. And oftentimes you will get so immersed in your college experience that once you get past that initial homesickness, you will kind of, you'll forget about it, and you'll really dive in, which leads us into our last fear. So a very important and a very real one as you are thinking about going out of state. We are here with other Southern institutions. So those of us representing Kentucky, we like to think that we are in the South. We do still have that Midwest sensibility, but we are Southern, and then definitely our Alabama. So how do you say y'all, and can you go to college in a place if you do not know how to say y'all? Well, first of all, yes, absolutely. All of our, you know, a lot of our colleges represented here and just in general are known for being friendly, welcoming places. And so if you don't quite know how to say y'all yet, that's okay. Know that we'll teach you. We might even poke a little bit of good fun at that. And with sweet tea, this can often be quite the polarizing topic, which I know is interesting to talk about in the year of 2020. But you either love it or you hate it, and often we do not find people right there in between. So know that you will be in light company if you attend an out-of-state institution, and in fact, sweet tea is not your drink of choice. Honestly, that probably is for the best, because if you've ever had a true, Southern grandparent make you sweet tea, the amount of sugar that goes into it will, kind of make you get cavities before you even pour that first glass. So know that you're okay to not quite know how to say y'all and drink tea. But in all seriousness, when you are thinking about going out of state, it is very likely that the environment or the city or the town that you are looking to go to is different than where you are. And there's a lot of good to that. And we're going to dive into the good in that with our next areas. But that is something to consider and a fear to consider. But again, like we've talked about with not knowing anyone or being in a new place, it is a fresh start when you get to college. Everyone is new. Everyone is joining. Even if someone, is attending the institution and they live 10 minutes down the road, it's still a different experience for them to be on that campus. So do not let that fear stop you from seeking those opportunities. And if all else fails, just ask somebody, hey, what's that funny word y'all use? And we'll use it in a sentence for you, and people will teach you. So knowing, kind of level setting our fears and recognizing that deciding to go out of state is a really big deal. One thing you've probably heard us kind of hint at throughout this is your fit, finding the right fit. So often we talk about, you heard all of us mention our academic programs. You heard us mention kind of our size, our location. So all of those things play into your college fit. And so with that, we are going to transition and talk about what we think of as the top 5 reasons to consider going out of state and the benefit that you would find if you consider out of state. So we will jump in first with Ryan.
Thanks, Lindsay. And just like Lindsay mentioned, there are numerous reasons that you can pick and why you want to go out of state or why you want to stay in state. For us, it was really hard for us to narrow these down to the top 5 reasons, but hopefully we'll be able to describe a little bit why we think you should consider going out of state and have a little fun with that. So first, as Lindsay mentioned, living in a new area or region, for somebody like myself, even though I did not go out of state, like I mentioned before, I grew up in Gary, Indiana. I went to the University of Southern Indiana, which if you looked at the state of Indiana on a map, 5 miles north of Gary, Indiana is basically Chicago, Illinois. 5 miles south of Evansville, Indiana, where USI is Henderson, Kentucky. So believe it or not, weather is an important reason why I chose the University of Southern Indiana. If you're familiar with the state, you know that Interstate 70 kind of cuts the state in half. Once you get below or once you get south of Interstate 70, the weather is completely different. I was used to seeing snow all the time and never have a snow day. And I can vividly remember my very first winter at the University of Southern Indiana. The weatherman came on and said there was a chance for an inch or 2 of snow. And I was like, oh, okay, an inch or 2 of snow, that's nothing. But for them, that was to shut down the whole entire city. We got a little dusting. I was wearing shorts and my flip-flops that day to class and telling my dad, I can't believe that people are freaking out about the snow, but we think weather is a really important factor and one of the top reasons why maybe you should consider going out of state, because once you get past that Interstate 70 threshold, it does get a little bit warmer. For my friend Jennifer, it actually gets probably a lot warmer than even somebody like Lindsay and myself's institution. So
it's funny, Ryan, that you mentioned that snow example. Because it's been a couple years since Tuscaloosa had any measurable snow. Like maybe 3 years ago, we had a ½ an inch, and our city was shut down for 3 days. It was just a totally different way to handle this. But I will say, it's been super fun working with Indiana students who do make the decision to go someplace else, because oftentimes many students will end up going to med school or returning home after college, but they talk about the benefit to living somewhere else and experiencing a different culture and learning about different types of people during college. So I think it's an awesome benefit to considering an out-of-state school.
So one of the next reasons I think students should consider going out of state, and I'm going to have Lindsay talk a little bit about this one, is to experience new cultures and diversity. So Lindsay?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in general, when you are gearing up for college and getting ready to think about college, you are walking into a community where there are people very different than you, and there's so much good and so much to look forward to with that. So this, in my opinion, applies really wherever you would consider going to college, but it's going to take it up a notch when you think about going out of state, because by going out of state, you think about that city. So think about Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and all the students from all the different areas that chose to be there. But then you have the benefit too of the location and the benefit of that city and getting to experience that city. So there are a lot of benefits in general to being on a college campus. You heard, I think, every single one of us mentioned in our kind of opening spiel about our institutions, where all of our students are from. And that's because we're proud of all the backgrounds and the experiences that students bring, because we think that, or we don't think it does, that makes up an experience like no other for you on campus. So that would be something that we definitely encourage you to consider. Another area that you'll see this and I would look for it in will be the opportunities for involvement on campus. So of course, getting out of your comfort zone is kind of the name of the game in college, but you also want to be looking for areas that you can learn and grow outside of the classroom as well. So when you're talking with institutions, hearing about the different things, because often those clubs and organizations are who are leading conversations and leading movements on campus to bring awareness and to connect people on campus. But that transitions us into the third top reason, and that's academic opportunity. So we'll first share that you're on a panel with three larger institutions. So we've been able to share that we have 200 academic majors, over 200 academic majors, which is really exciting. But we want to take this out a little bit to share with you all. When you are thinking about a college that is maybe outside of your area or outside of your state, you're going to find opportunities that you might not find within Indiana. So a great example of this, and I didn't look this up, so I guess I could, phone a friend here if I say it incorrectly, but last I checked, there are no oceans around the state of Indiana. You have to travel to get to an ocean. So something like, marine life, marine biology, that sort of thing will be harder to have that experience. Whereas and we couldn't offer that to you in Kentucky because we were also, landlocked. So there are academic majors and programs that are based on the area of the country, and then of course also the institution. So that's just something to consider. If you are joining us tonight and you have a really particular area of interest, that's something you've likely already thought about, because that's often a first thing. But we wanted to just take a minute to share a couple that are unique programs to our institution. So I will start with at the University of Kentucky, we offer a major in our College of Engineering called mining engineering. So that's for any student who is thinking about wanting to work in some area of mining. Yes, we are Kentucky, but it's not just coal mining. So that's an important thing to note there. But it's a major for that impacts, just like most of engineering, but impacts everything, because you have to dig and mine for the materials to be able to build the roads, build the bridges, build your cell phone, build, our computer that you're on. So a lot of opportunities there. And mining engineering, it's only one, only program of its kind in the state and in the area. So that's the UK example. Alabama, do y'all have one that you want to share?
Yeah, you actually gave me a good intro because we have marine science. Now, full disclosure, Tuscaloosa is not on the coast, but we're a lot further to the Gulf of Mexico than Indiana. So our students do their practical work on Dolphin Island in the Gulf during the summertime.
Fun. Oh, and I think he froze, but Ryan has one to share.
So at the University of Louisville, we're really fortunate to have, so if you can hear me, at the University of Louisville, we have a very unique program called Equine Business. With having Churchill Downs in our backyard, we have an equine program as well. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next one here. It talks a little bit about affordability. I did mention earlier, one of the myths about going out of state is that it's more expensive, but in reality, going out of state can be very affordable. Just like Jennifer mentioned earlier and Lindsay mentioned earlier, there are great scholarship opportunities that each school probably has to offer to out-of-state students to help bring down that out-of-state tuition costs and make it very affordable for you. Our last reason would be, I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Jennifer here, is to do something a little bit different. So Jennifer, if you want to talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I've had the pleasure of working specifically with Indiana students considering an out-of-state school for 7 years. And something that I've heard from these students is that they're really glad that they did something that was different than the majority of their classmates. Not because they couldn't have had a great experience at Indiana school, not that at all, but because they kind of got out of their comfort zone, or some students have called it their Indiana bubble or their high school bubble. Because they got out of that, they took advantage of things they probably wouldn't have had they stayed in their bubble and went to school in their bubble. So, and that's something that I've heard from counselors too, is just watching their high school graduates go away to a school. Oftentimes they grow in different ways than those who stay closer to home. So just something to consider. Obviously, we want you to find your college fit, and we hope that you'll consider some out-of-state schools. But I think we're going to move on to some questions. Is that right, Brian?
That is correct. So
this is my favorite slide here. Buddy the Elf.
Buddy the Elf. I've had a few questions come in that I could see here for us. So Chris has a question. I'm a junior and just beginning my college search. Do you have any advice for me?
Well, we have a lot of advice. So I'm trying to think if I had just one piece of advice, because normally we would say start the process now. So you've marked off our first advice. Gosh, I got going and now I can't think of the number one I want to share. I'll say, and I'm sorry, I think Jennifer, I might steal this from you, but I will say when possible, visit, explore, experience the institution that you're considering. The fact that you're starting your college search your junior year, you're putting yourself in a strong position to be able to take the time to do your college search. But each and every one of us would love to show you around and show you what we have to offer. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice. And I also want to recognize it is not possible for everyone to visit. It's not safe for everyone to visit in this environment. So as much as we are getting tired of living on our computers, do know that there are virtual options, and we are on our computers too to engage with you in that way as well.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing that's come out of this pandemic is that you have access to schools and you don't have to leave home. So do take advantage of these next couple weeks of sessions through InACAC. Hopefully you can pop on and get some more information, and way to go for starting as a junior. Great job.
Yeah, I'm just going to echo my colleagues here and just say, engage and connect with us. That's what we want. It may look a little bit different than historically, but we still, at the end of the day, want to get to know you and want to build a relationship with you to share what our institutions have to offer to you. So engage and connect with us. All right, I see another question has popped in here from Logan. Logan asks, are your schools scheduling, this is a good segue, are your schools scheduling in-person visits currently?
Yes, we are excited to have in-person opportunities we have some visit programs this fall to in-depth visits where if you visit on a Monday through Friday, we can usually set up time to do an advisor meeting and take a tour and all that good stuff.
I will second that. We are also open and thrilled to be able to welcome you to campus officially Monday through Friday for visits, similar to what Jennifer shared, in meetings and different things. So would love to help you schedule.
Excellent. And likewise, we are open for visits as well. We are accepting 40 total guests 2 times a day. So we're excited to welcome everyone and showcase campus. This next question might be one of my favorites. I don't know. It comes from Addison. Addison says, y'all have great sports programs. What's the cost to attend these games? And first and foremost, Addison, great job for using the word y'all. I think you used it in an appropriate way there. So I'll let Lindsay talk first, and then we'll go Jennifer, and then I'll conclude.
Yes, yes. Way to go, Addison. So for us at the University of Kentucky, you are able to attend all of our sporting events for free with your student ID, with the exception of our football and our basketball games. So in pre-pandemic world, students would be you're able to buy football and basketball tickets from anywhere from $5 to $15, depending on the game. You know, when we play Louisville, it's going to be more on the $15 side of things. So it's a hot ticket. But outside of basketball and football, you can attend all of our sporting events for free. So really fun to go to the baseball games, tennis, gymnastics, all those different things.
So similar, football is our hot ticket item, and if a student wants a football ticket, they generally cost between $15 and $20, $20 for the better games, so to speak. And all the rest of our sports on campus are free, and some really well-attended sports on campus. We have a really great basketball following, so if you want to see Alabama play UK, you can, or gymnastics is also a big one on campus.
So at the University of Louisville, we're proud to be a proud member of the ACC conference, unlike my 2 colleagues who are SEC conference, which is a great conference as well, don't get me wrong. And we call the Flight 23 program. With that, think of it as a Netflix subscription. So for $10 a month, you get a ticket to every sporting event that we offer. So in total, you pay $100. You can go to any home football game, any home basketball game, whether we're playing, an ACC component like Clemson or Duke or North Carolina, or if we're playing UK, it's still $10. So it's an amazing opportunity there for you. All right, this is a really good question, you guys, that I think we didn't spend a whole lot of time on, but I think we should. Brenna asked, can I get help finding a job or internship back in my hometown if I go out of state?
I love that question. Absolutely. So we probably all have career centers on our campus, and their job is to help you kind of figure out this whole career path. So whether that be through internship placement, and we have somebody who, they help you find an internship back home if that's your desire, as well as jobs after school. So absolutely, that's a good question.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. So second, same thing. I would add to that for anyone who is considering a program or a major that has state licensing, and like Jennifer mentioned when she was talking, often you go away to college and then maybe consider, going back to home for your career. So it's important if you're thinking, and when I say state licensing, I often think of education. So if we have any future teachers or counselors in the room, nursing, some of the healthcare areas, law, any of those, check with the colleges that you're thinking about. For the most part, institutions, again, want to get you to our campus and then help you wherever it is you want to go, whether it's back home or, across the country to follow your new best friend. But make sure the institutions have some ways to help you, navigate that licensing process, navigate that search process for those jobs, or, does the institution help you connect with alumni in areas? Maybe you don't want to go back home, but you want to, go experience, a summer in New York, whatever the case may be. So check with your Jennifer, Ryan, or Lindsay at your institution, and they'll be able to tell you what that looks like specifically for their institution.
Great. All right, we have 1 minute. And so with this 1 minute, each of us gets 20 seconds to give a quick one piece of advice for students who are considering to go out of state. And I'll kind of kick us off. My biggest piece of advice, guys, is I mentioned it earlier, engage and connect with us. Utilize all the resources that are available to you. This process could be stressful, it could be confusing, but you got wonderful people with Lindsay, myself, and Miss Jennifer to help you in that process. So there's my 20 seconds. Jennifer, you want to go next?
Sure. I guess my biggest piece of advice is relax. So if you want to go to college, you're going to go to college. So trust the process. We're here for you to help you.
That's great. I would second all of those. And the third I'll leave you with is build your community. When you're thinking about out of state, the fears we talked about, find your community, start with us. Let us help you navigate this process and help you find that community once you get on campus. And you will quickly see those fears wipe away as you get on and build your community at your future home.
So that is all we have. Thank you all for joining us today.
Yes, thank you. I'm popping back in here just for a final thank you. All of our these amazing hospitable reps are some of our favorites for sure, and we want to thank you all for joining us. Definitely take their advice in terms of using them as resources, and make sure that you check out the recording if you want to rewatch this or watch some recordings for other sessions. And speaking of other sessions, make sure you sign up for those sessions. They're happening for the next 3 weeks. And you can go to inacac.org/virtual college exploration. When we close this meeting out, you will see a very quick 4-question survey, and we'd love for you to answer those questions to give us some feedback about how we can make these opportunities even better for you all. So thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you all.